A recent study on future heating projections for the Indian Ocean said that it is the fastest warming tropical ocean in the world, and it has been for the past few decades. The rising sea surface temperature of the ocean will lead to a number of natural hazards in this century, from rising sea levels, increased droughts and floods to massive marine heat waves that can wreak havoc on marine ecosystems and fisheries. Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I'm Akanksha Mishra, and in this edition of Pure Science, we will attempt to understand the study published by Elsevier on the changing climate of the Indian Ocean. As we already know, Eastern India, especially Odisha and Jharkhand, are currently experiencing heat wave and severe heat wave conditions since the past 2 weeks, with temperatures hitting 47.2 degrees Celsius in some places. However, land is not the only place where heat waves can occur, as a new study shows that the Indian Ocean too is warming. Led by Roxy Cole of the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, this study uses climate modeling to come up with scenarios for future heating of the Indian Ocean based on its past heating trajectory and on the effects of greenhouse gas emissions. They found that the Indian Ocean and all of its surrounding countries are globally at the highest risk of natural hazards, and the coastal communities are very vulnerable to extreme weather events. Let's take a look at how the Indian Ocean is warming. In the last 150 years, the entire basin of the ocean saw an increase in the average sea surface temperature (SST) from 26.44 degrees Celsius in 1871 to 27.2 degrees Celsius in 2020. So that's around 1 degree Celsius or more of an increase. But according to the climate modeling by Roxy Cole's team, in the next 75 years, the Indian Ocean is expected to warm by 3 degrees Celsius. By the end of the century, the average sea surface temperature is expected to be 30.2 degrees Celsius if the world's greenhouse gas emissions remain the same as they are today. If they increase, this temperature could be even higher. Now, why should we be concerned about how hot the Indian Ocean is? Well, warming in the Indian Ocean is actually connected to many events. It almost starts a chain reaction that affects marine systems, weather patterns, rainfall, and consequently the lives and livelihoods of people who live around the ocean. Several previous studies, including a 2015 study by Roxy Cole, shows how warming in the Indian Ocean leads to increasing droughts during monsoon, floods and heat waves across South Asia. Other examples include droughts in Eastern Africa that happen due to warming in the tropical Indian Ocean. And this drought also leads to result in locust outbreaks in the same region. High sea surface temperatures in general also lead to two related weather phenomena: deep convection and cyclogenesis. What is deep convection? It's basically the vertical movement of air upwards in the atmosphere, and it happens when moist warm air rises upwards and causes thunderstorms, heavy rainfall, and sometimes even tornadoes. Cyclogenesis, on the other hand, is the formation of cyclones. As the name suggests, it is the genesis of cyclones. We have seen that rising emissions have caused higher sea temperatures across the globe, including the Pacific Oceans. There have been an increasing number of these events, such as increasing thunderstorms, increased rainfall, and increased cyclones since 1950. And it is only projected that these will increase in frequency as emissions increase. It's important to keep in mind that the World Meteorological Organization's State of the Climate Report 2023, which released this year on 23rd April, showed that Asia was the most disaster-hit region in the world last year, and also that most of the damage that happened in the area was caused by disasters such as floods and storms. While the report highlighted how climate change in general increased the frequency of such events, the current study on the Indian Ocean is a more comprehensive understanding of how exactly this increase has happened and also how it will continue to occur. Last week, senior editor Sandhya Ramesh told you more about the global mass coral bleaching event that's taking place currently. It's the fourth such global event on record. Coral bleaching is essentially when high sea surface temperatures lead to corals experiencing heat stress and losing the colorful and nutrient-rich algae that live in these corals. Upon prolonged heat stress and bleaching, corals will die. Well, events of this sort are more likely to occur with the warming of the Indian Ocean, and in fact they are visible right now, since the Gulf of Mannar coral reef off the coast of Tamil Nadu is undergoing massive coral bleaching. The National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration of the United States has issued a red alert for the Gulf of Mannar coral reefs. Corals aren't the only marine organisms to be affected by rising temperatures in the Indian Ocean though. Possibly the most alarming prediction of Roxy Cole's study is that the Indian Ocean will be in a permanent marine heatwave situation by the end of the century. Marine heatwaves are basically the same as land heatwaves. They are prolonged periods of extremely high temperature in the ocean. However, whereas we now see around 20 marine heatwave days in a year, by 2080, this number is projected to be 200 and 250 marine heatwave days in a year, which practically means we will experience heat waves in the Indian Ocean throughout the year. This will affect all sorts of marine life, which includes seagrass, kelp forests, fisheries, and phytoplankton production. And adjacent to high temperatures is a change in ocean acidification. The surface pH of the Indian Ocean is expected to decrease from pH above 8.1 to pH below 7.7 by the end of the century. This is bad news for corals as well as any organisms that are sensitive to ocean acidity because they need to calcify to maintain their shells. The scientists used the climate model called CMIPS, Coupled Model Intercomparison Project Phase 6, to predict the future of the Indian Ocean based on 3 scenarios. First, a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in the future, an increase in greenhouse gas emissions in the future, and a situation where the emissions remain the same as they are now. While the current model used for this study builds on a larger climate modeling system developed by scientists to accurately predict the Earth's system processes and the major drivers of climate change, Cole's paper also admits its limitations. There needs to be a much more robust modeling of ocean temperature rise and long-term ocean observations to fully understand what changes are due to anthropogenic activities. However, author of the paper Roxy Cole, in a statement, said that it is crucial to recognize that the impacts of these changes are not distant concerns for our grandchildren and future generations alone. As the current generation, we are already witnessing the repercussions firsthand. Monsoon floods, droughts, cyclones, and heat waves over both land and ocean are increasingly affecting all of us. Thank you for tuning into The Print. Follow our social media for more such analysis.